The sun rose on Tuesday, February 25, 1986, over a nation holding its breath. The Philippines found itself in a precarious and unprecedented situation, a country with two individuals claiming the presidency. In the morning, Corazon Aquino arrived at Club Filipino in Green Hills. She was the widow of the assassinated opposition leader, Benigno Aquino Jr. Dressed in her signature yellow, she stood before a jubilant crowd. International media filmed the scene. They saw her as the rightful winner of the snap election held weeks prior, an election widely seen as fraudulent. The atmosphere was electric with hope and defiance. Surrounded by key military defectors, she swore to preserve and defend the Constitution. Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Claudio Tehanque administered the oath.
I would like to repeat that I am very grateful to the people. It is the people who have made this possible.
Meanwhile, just a few kilometers away, a starkly different scene unfolded at Malacañang Palace. Ferdinand Marcos prepared for his own inauguration. The ceremony was hastily arranged and broadcast on a government-controlled television station. He stood on a balcony before a crowd of loyalists. He tried to project unshakable power, but attendance was dwindling and tension was palpable. The palace felt like a fortress under siege, isolated from the will of the people. As Marcos raised his hand to take his oath, administered by Chief Justice Ramon Aquino, the television broadcast was abruptly cut off. Rebel soldiers had captured the transmission towers, silencing his final address to the nation. The act symbolized his crumbling control. For a few tense hours, the Philippines teetered on the edge, with two presidents and two governments. One leader was surrounded by the people on the streets. The other was barricaded inside a palace, increasingly alone. All through this day of political drama, the true heart of the revolution beat along Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, EDSA, the major artery of Metro Manila. Hundreds of thousands of ordinary citizens continued their peaceful vigil. They formed a human barricade, a sea of bodies that stretched for kilometers. They were there to protect defecting military forces, led by Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile and General Fidel Ramos, who had holed up in Camps Crame and in Camp Aguinaldo. The crowd was a vibrant mix of students, office workers, nuns, priests, families with small children, and the elderly. They came not with weapons, they came with faith and a shared desire for freedom. The mood on EDSA was not anger or aggression. Instead, it was festive, almost spiritual. Nuns knelt before tanks, holding crucifixes and flowers. Young women and men offered sampaguita leis, pleading with soldiers not to fire on their own people. As February 25th wore on, the foundations of the Marcos regime began to crumble at an accelerated pace. The momentum had decisively shifted. The defection of Enrile and Ramos inspired more military units to switch allegiance. Pilots of the 15th Strike Wing, ordered to bomb Camp Crame, defied commands and landed inside the camp, joining the uprising. This defiance was a devastating blow to Marcos. He could no longer rely on his military to enforce his will. His world shrank to the palace grounds, encircled by a sea of people. The United States began to publicly distance itself. A statement called for a peaceful transition, signaling support withdrawn. The psychological pressure inside Malacañang was immense. From the palace they heard the crowds and Radio Veritas chronicling their collapse. Allies fled, hid, or fell silent. His options dwindled with each hour. Negotiations began, facilitated by U.S. Ambassador Stephen Bosworth.
Marcos asked Senator Paul Laxalt if he should resign. Laxalt replied, "I think you should cut and cut cleanly."
Resolution came not by battle, but by the quiet surrender of a leader who had lost his people, his military, and his most powerful ally. As dusk settled over Manila, the final act of the 20-year Marcos rule began. Under the cover of darkness, U.S. Air Force helicopters descended on Malacañang Palace. The departure was swift and cloaked in secrecy. Ferdinand Marcos, his wife Imelda, their family, and close associates were flown first to Clark Air Base, then boarded a U.S. military transport and flown into exile in Hawaii. News of their departure spread like wildfire. The tense atmosphere of 4 days dissolved into relief and celebration. Strangers hugged, car horns blared, and church bells rang. Shortly after, the palace gates opened and the people streamed inside. They found signs of a hasty retreat and the excesses of power, including Imelda Marcos's thousands of shoes. Marcos's departure marked the end of an era of corruption, human rights abuses, and suppression of dissent. The People Power Revolution inspired movements from South Korea and Taiwan to the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Velvet Revolution. The world watched as a nation dismantled a dictatorship with songs, prayers, and human solidarity. At home, democracy was restored. A new constitution, checks and balances, a Bill of Rights, and term limits. February 25th is commemorated each year, a reminder that true power resides with the people, and that ordinary citizens, united, can achieve extraordinary things.